where every word holds the weight of 1,000 secrets waiting to be unveiled. Embrace the freedom of unlimited and cast aside this haunting message forever. As the late afternoon sun draped its golden veil over the room, I immersed myself in the mundane task of tidying my bedroom. But then, an eerie silence enveloped me, shattered only by the soft, haunting creak of the door behind me. I turned sharply, and there he stood, Lucas, a shadow in the doorway, his gaze locked onto the object I held, a weighty secret resting in my hands. My heart froze in that moment, caught in a web of uncertainty. How can I unveil this with clarity? The object loomed ominously, drawing eyes like a moth to a flame, its presence anything but harmless. It loomed like a titan, an undeniable presence that demanded attention in every weighty discourse. In a heartbeat, I yanked it from the depths of the drawer, driven by an urgent need to restore order to the shadowy recesses of the cabinet. With a heart pounding in my chest, I was certain I had secured the door, sealing away the darkness that lurked beyond. Lucas, my stepchild, stood at the precipice of life, a mere 23 years old, yet the weight of his existence felt far heavier than his age suggested. His return, shrouded in the cloak of night, was a twist of fate no one had foreseen. He labored relentlessly at the local brewery, where shadows danced and laughter echoed, often losing himself in the company of friends as the clock crept into the haunting late hours after his shifts. There he stood, a striking figure cloaked in shadows, his raven hair cascading like a dark waterfall, framing those piercing blue eyes that sparkled with a hint of mischief. What could that ominous presence possibly be? He inquired, his voice weaving a tantalizing blend of curiosity and mischief, sending a shiver down my spine and leaving me on edge. I released the item as if it had bitten me, my heart racing as I snatched a throw pillow from the bed, desperately concealing the truth within its soft embrace. "It is of no concern to you," I murmured, my voice barely a whisper, laden with an unspoken weight that hung in the air like a storm about to break. A chilling sensation gripped my throat, yet his face betrayed no hint of emotion, remaining eerily unchanged. Instead, he leaned against the doorframe, a storm of curiosity brewing within him, each heartbeat echoing the tension in the air. "You needn't feign discomfort," he said, a chilling laugh escaping his lips, as shadows danced around them, thickening the air with tension. "I have undeniably achieved that, and the weight of it hangs in the air, thick with anticipation." Never before had I encountered a sight so extraordinary, so hauntingly captivating, that it sent shivers down my spine. A deep yearning surged within me, urging me to slip silently into the darkness, to become one with the shadows that beckoned enticingly. It is nothing short of astonishing, the audacity of this individual to stand there, utterly unfazed and indifferent, as my world spiraled into a tempest of chaos. I suppressed a laugh, desperate to cut through the thick, suffocating tension that hung in the air like a storm cloud, ready to unleash its fury. Lucas's voice cut through the tension, a sharp blade in the silence. "Honestly," he said, each word dripping with intensity, "focus on your own business." The air crackled with unspoken challenges, leaving everyone on edge, wondering what would happen next. "Your presence here is shrouded in uncertainty, a shadow lurking where it does not belong." Yet he remained utterly still, as if the very air around him held its breath, waiting for the storm to break. For what felt like an eternity, silence enveloped us, heavy and suffocating, as if the very air held its breath in anticipation. He turned away from the pillow that lay cradled in my trembling hands, the weight of unspoken words hanging heavily in the air. His eyes locked onto mine, a piercing intensity that sent shivers down my spine. His gaze pierced through the air, a chilling absence of the familiar ease and playful charm I had once taken for granted. This one persevered with an extraordinary passion and an unyielding force that could not be extinguished. In that moment, it was as if he had stripped away the very layers of my existence, revealing a hidden self that had long remained shrouded in shadows. A wave of warmth coursed through my veins, only to be swiftly eclipsed by a haunting shadow of regret that loomed ominously over my heart. What had just transpired loomed over them like a dark cloud, a haunting realization that echoed in the silence. This was a mistake. This was a grave error, one that could unravel everything. For heaven's sake, I was his stepmother. In a twist of fate, I found myself bound in matrimony to his father, a connection that would forever alter the course of our lives. I broke the stillness and unleashed the storm within the tranquility. Lucas's shoulders rose and fell in a casual shrug, his hands raised in a mock gesture of surrender, yet the tension in the air crackled like a storm waiting to unleash its fury. He acknowledged me with an air of indifference, but just before he vanished into the shadows, he cast one final glance in my direction, an expression that ignited a tempest of thoughts as the door clicked ominously shut behind him. I sat on the precipice of the bed, gripping the pillow with a vice-like hold against my chest, my heart pounding like a war drum in the silence of the room. The item slipped through my fingers, taunting me as it evaded my desperate attempts to return it to the drawer, a silent witness to my growing frustration. An imperceptible change hung in the air, thick with tension, and despite my desperate attempts to dismiss it, I knew that my view of Lucas had irrevocably shifted, casting a shadow over the entire evening that lay ahead. The moment lingered, suspended in the depths of my thoughts, a heavy silence pregnant with unspoken tension. I resolved to act, driven by an urgency that pulsed through my veins. As the shadows of the evening deepened, I meticulously prepared a meal, sifting through the laundry with a sense of urgency, before finally sinking into the couch beside Richard. The flickering images of classic westerns danced ominously on the screen, casting an eerie glow that hinted at untold stories and hidden tensions. Yet, Lucas's radiant smile and the profound gaze that lingered in his eyes haunted my mind, refusing to fade into the shadows of memory. Richard seemed oblivious to the storm brewing within me, his focus unwavering as I struggled to mask my turmoil. It bore no weight, no meaning, as if it were a shadow cast in the dim light of uncertainty. For years after his retirement, he plunged into the depths of his passions, where the soil of his garden whispered secrets, the wood transformed under his hands into something extraordinary, and the cryptic clues of crossword puzzles beckoned him into a labyrinth of thought and intrigue. In the depths of my heart, there was no room for resentment toward him, even as the shadows of our past loomed large. To view it through such a lens would be to embrace a dangerously naive simplicity, one that could unravel the very fabric of understanding. In the shadows of our relationship, I often felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on me, transforming my role from a lover to a caregiver, as if the very essence of partnership had slipped through my fingers. A shadowy figure flickered in the dim light, Lucas, a mere silhouette, gliding through his room and vanishing into the depths of the hallway. What secrets lay hidden in the darkness? The air thickened with anticipation. A whisper of sound brushed against my senses, barely audible yet undeniably present, sending shivers down my spine. The music erupted from his door, a thunderous bass line that shattered the tranquil silence of the house, sending my heart racing in a tumultuous dance of confusion and anticipation. I shifted my gaze to my husband, Richard, who lay in a deep, tranquil slumber, oblivious to the storm brewing just beyond the shadows. His chin fell toward his chest, a silent surrender to the weight of the moment. Once more, he succumbed to the seductive pull of slumber, ensnared in the depths of his recliner's embrace. As the television droned on, a heavy silence enveloped the room, and I wrestled with the decision to awaken him. Doubt crept in, twisting my thoughts as I questioned the very reason for breaking the stillness that hung in the air like a fragile thread, ready to snap at any moment. I rose, my heart pounding, and ventured toward the kitchen, relishing the fleeting moment of solitude that hung in the air like a fragile whisper, teetering on the edge of something unknown. Yet, the shadows of my solitude loomed only for a fleeting moment, as fate had other plans in store. Lucas crossed the threshold, his bare feet gliding silently over the polished hardwood, as if the very air held its breath in anticipation. He slipped into a faded t-shirt, its fabric whispering tales of countless battles fought in the quiet of his solitude, and pulled on sweatpants that clung to him like shadows, ready for whatever the night might unveil. His hair lay in disarray, a chaotic testament to the turmoil that had just unfolded, as if he had desperately clawed at it in a moment of sheer panic. "Hey," he uttered, his voice dripping with an unsettling calm as he swung open the fridge door, fingers trembling slightly as they grasped the cold, glistening bottle of water within. The air thickened with unspoken tension, each moment stretching into eternity. "It appears you have awakened in the haunting stillness of the night." With a glint of mischief in my eyes, I countered, the air thick with unspoken tension. "I could easily mirror your feelings." The words hung between us, charged with an electric anticipation. He flashed a smile, a seemingly innocent gesture, as he leaned against the counter, the air thick with unspoken tension. In the stillness of the moment, a sense of release envelopes me, as if the weight of the world is slowly lifting, revealing the hidden depths of tranquility beneath the chaos. Life beneath this roof can feel like a treacherous maze, fraught with unexpected twists and turns at every corner. His remark pierced through the air, halting my thoughts and plunging me into a deep abyss of reflection. "Can you unravel the mystery behind your words?" I inquired, my voice trembling with anticipation. He shrugged, but beneath the surface, a flicker of something grave danced in his eyes, hinting at secrets untold. "It is but a haunting return to this place, where shadows linger and memories whisper in the dark." A chilling realization grips me. I feel the weight of isolation, a haunting certainty that I am no longer part of this world. In that fleeting instant, a wave of vulnerability washed over me, igniting a deep, instinctual urge to protect, as if the very essence of motherhood had awakened from its slumber within my soul. "It is but a whisper in the shadows, Lucas. In the shadows of uncertainty, a path awaits you, shrouded in mystery and fraught with peril. Trust in the whispers of fate, for you will find your way, even when the night seems endless and the road ahead is obscured. The journey beckons, and with each step, the truth will unfold before you." "Text, you wield a sharp intellect and undeniable skill," I declared, the weight of my words hanging in the air like a storm cloud ready to unleash its fury. "In the shadows of uncertainty, a glimmer of hope awaits. You will reclaim your footing, but the journey will test your resolve like never before." "Thank you," Lucas whispered, his voice barely rising above the tension in the air. "Your acknowledgement carries a weight that is almost unbearable, a flicker of hope in the shadows of uncertainty." In that fleeting moment, we found ourselves enveloped in an eerie silence, the kitchen closing in around us, as if the very walls were conspiring to contain the weight of unspoken truths. The chasm that had long kept us apart began to close, an invisible force drawing us nearer, even as we remained steadfast in our places, hearts racing with unspoken tension. His gaze locked onto mine, igniting a thrilling sensation deep within my chest, a feeling both exhilarating and unnerving. I cleared my throat, my hands moving in a desperate frenzy across the counter, scrubbing with an urgency that belied the suffocating tension in the air. The connection loomed, a dark shadow ready to ensnare me, and I fought against it with every fiber of my being. Yet Lucas held a secret, a revelation that lingered in the shadows of what had transpired earlier. Once again, his tone danced with a playful edge, teasing the air with an electric anticipation that hung like a storm cloud, ready to unleash its secrets. "In the depths of your mind, a whisper emerges, urging you to confront the unsettling truth. There is no reason to feel the weight of unease pressing down upon you. In the end, we are merely fragile souls, aren't we?" My hand froze in midair, the cloth suspended as I turned to face him, battling the tempest of emotions swirling within me. "Lucas, we must tread carefully and avoid delving into that perilous topic." Indeed, it was a moment shrouded in unintentional shadows, a fleeting incident that should remain buried in the depths of the past. There is no reason to unearth it again. Is that truly acceptable? With a heavy heart, he raised his hands, surrendering to the weight of the moment, as if the very air around him crackled with tension. Yet within the curve of his smile lurked a tantalizing hint that sent shivers down my spine, igniting a sense of unease that I couldn't shake off. He approached, each step echoing in the silence, the air thick with an intoxicating scent that sent shivers down my spine. I stood frozen, my gaze fixed ahead, as his presence hung in the air behind me, a haunting echo that lingered just a heartbeat longer before he vanished from the kitchen, leaving an unsettling silence in his wake. That night, as I lay in bed beside Richard, a tempest of thoughts surged through my mind, each one more haunting than the last. What dark secrets were stirring within me, between us, echoing through these walls? For as long as I could remember, I had fiercely guarded the boundaries I had set, a fortress of resolve that was never meant to be breached. But then there was Lucas, a force of nature, whose mere presence seemed to weave a spell that blurred those lines, leaving me teetering on the edge of uncertainty, even when he meant no harm. The most haunting dilemma loomed over me, a chilling uncertainty gnawing at my core. Did I truly wish for him to stop? As the shadows of the night stretched on, I fought against the encroaching chaos, desperately striving to reclaim a flicker of normalcy before the first light of dawn broke through the darkness. As dawn broke, I embarked on my familiar ritual, the kitchen shrouded in an eerie stillness. Eggs sizzled ominously in the pan, toast crackled in the toaster, and the rich aroma of coffee filled the air, all for Richard. Meanwhile, I blended a vibrant smoothie, its swirling colors a stark contrast to the tension that hung heavy in the room. As the door creaked open, Lucas stepped into the kitchen, the last to cross the threshold, a shadow lingering in the dim light. The air was thick with anticipation, and every eye turned toward him, as if the very walls held their breath, waiting for what would unfold next. His hair, still glistening from the shower, fell like a dark curtain around his face as he offered Richard a casual morning greeting. But it was the warm smile he directed at me that ignited a tempest within my heart, sending it racing wildly, as if it sensed the storm brewing just beneath the surface. We huddled around the table, the soft clinking of silverware echoing like distant whispers, while fleeting snippets of conversation wove through the charged atmosphere, each word hanging heavy with unspoken tension. Yet, beneath the surface, an electric tension crackled in the air each time Lucas's hand grazed mine, a fleeting touch that sent shivers down my spine as we passed the salt or filled our coffee cups to the brim. It felt deliberate, a chilling awareness creeping over me as I caught him watching me with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. Then, with a gaze that pierced through the shadows, Richard stood resolute, utterly unaware of the tempest swirling around him. After the last bite of breakfast lingered in the air, Lucas's voice cut through the silence, a hint of tension in his tone as he extended his offer to help with the cleanup. What lay beneath his polite gesture? A hidden agenda? The atmosphere thickened, charged with unspoken words and possibilities. In a twist of fate, he stood before me, an enigma wrapped in shadows. Normally, he would have slipped away into the solitude of his room or disappeared into the night with friends. But this time, his unexpected offer hung in the air, electrifying the moment with an unsettling tension that left me breathless. "Text, you don't have to," I whispered, my hands trembling as I stacked the plates in the sink, the weight of unspoken words hanging heavily in the air. "Text, I want to," he replied, his voice low and filled with an unspoken urgency, as his hand moved instinctively toward the dish rag, the air thick with anticipation. We labored in silence, but the air around us hummed with an electric tension, thick with unvoiced fears and hidden truths. In a heartbeat, I reached for the glass, my hand trembling with anticipation, only to collide with his in a shocking twist of fate. Neither of us dared to pull away, the tension thickening in the air, as if the very fabric of the moment held us captive. "You're unlike anyone else," he breathed, his voice a mere shadow of sound, hanging in the air like a secret waiting to be unveiled. "Can you unravel the mystery behind your words?" I asked, my throat constricting with an unsettling dryness. He paused, his gaze piercing through the veil of silence, searching the depths of my soul. "Our paths have yet to cross, and the shadows of uncertainty linger between us. In a world where expectations loom large, you stand defiantly apart, shattering the mold that society has crafted for women of your age. Your choices echo with a daring resonance, challenging the very fabric of conformity." A nervous laugh escaped my lips as I stepped back, instinctively creating a barrier between us, the tension thickening in the air. "How utterly gracious of you to utter such words." His voice deepened, a weighty gravity settling over his words as he pressed on, unwavering and relentless. "In the shadows of reality, your essence pulses with undeniable authenticity. Your gaze pierces through the veil of indifference, revealing a depth of understanding that is both rare and unsettling." Text, the sincerity in his voice pierced through the air, an unexpected revelation that sent shivers down my spine. Words slipped through my fingers like shadows in the night, leaving me in a haunting silence. As I resumed my task with the dishes, an unsettling presence lingered just behind me, an unspoken weight that thickened the air, sending shivers down my spine. My heart pounded furiously, a relentless drum echoing in the silence, as I wrestled with the chaos swirling in my mind. Richard's voice reverberated ominously from the depths of the living room, sending a shiver down the spine of anyone who dared to listen. "Helena, what have you done with my crossword book? It has vanished into thin air, and the silence is deafening. The mystery deepens. Where could it possibly be? Time is slipping away, and I must uncover the truth before it's too late." Time seemed to splinter as Lucas pulled back, his gaze piercing through the tension, a knowing smile flickering across his lips like a fleeting shadow. "You may return to him," he declared, his voice laced with an unsettling calm that sent shivers down her spine. His voice hung in the air, a haunting whisper, as he slowly turned to depart, leaving an unsettling silence in his wake. A tumultuous wave of relief crashed against the shores of my heart, yet an insatiable yearning clawed at my soul, leaving me teetering on the edge of despair. The air crackled with tension as I stood on the precipice of peril, fully aware of the lurking shadows that threatened to engulf me. Yet, an insatiable urge gripped my heart, urging me forward into the unknown, where danger awaited with bated breath. On that fateful day, I found myself engulfed in a whirlwind of errands, desperately grasping for any distraction to quell the turmoil churning within my restless mind. As I stepped through the door, a chill ran down my spine. There, on the porch steps, sat Lucas, his silhouette stark against the fading light, lost in a haunting reverie as he stared into the shadows of the yard. He stood there, lost in a tempest of contemplation, as shadows danced around him, hinting at secrets yet to be unveiled. His voice barely broke the silence as I approached, a whisper laced with secrets and shadows. He lifted his gaze, a flicker of a smile igniting on his lips, as if a secret had just been unveiled, shrouded in mystery and anticipation. "Greetings, I must ask, are you truly well? What shadows linger in the corners of your mind?" He halted, the weight of his decision hanging in the air like a storm cloud, each heartbeat echoing the gravity of his choice. In the stillness of the night, I find myself engulfed in a tempest of thoughts, grappling with the haunting questions of existence. What path lies ahead? Where am I truly meant to tread? The weight of uncertainty looms, casting shadows over my every decision. I took my place beside him, careful to keep a respectful distance, yet close enough to feel the warmth of his reassuring presence enveloping me like a fragile whisper in the dark. "The shadows of your youth linger, Lucas, whispering secrets of what lies ahead." In this very moment, the chaos of uncertainty looms large, and yet, there is no pressing need to have every detail meticulously arranged. The shadows of the unknown dance around us, whispering secrets of what lies ahead. "Perhaps," he murmured, his gaze fixated on the yard, as if it held secrets waiting to be unveiled. After a heavy pause, he pressed on, "Do you ever feel that you were meant for something greater, as if you're trapped in a web of fate?" His words echoed in the shadows of my mind, stirring emotions I dared not confront. A powerful urge surged within me to reach out and console him, but deep down, a chilling truth gripped my heart. I harbored no belief in that notion myself. My hand found its way to his shoulder, a gentle squeeze that carried the weight of unspoken words, a moment suspended in time, fraught with tension and anticipation. "You're not trapped," I declared, my voice trembling despite my desperate attempt to conceal the fear lurking beneath the surface. In that fleeting moment, his hand closed around mine, a jolt of electricity coursing through the air, igniting a tension that hung heavily between us. I retreated with urgency, but the echoes of that moment lingered, haunting me with their undeniable weight. Another boundary slipped silently into the shadows, lost to the relentless march of time. Doubt clawed at my resolve, leaving me to wonder if I truly had the power to stop it once and for all. As dusk descended, the sky transformed into a menacing hue, signaling the imminent arrival of a fierce storm. The air hung heavy, charged with an electric tension, as if the world itself was holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable moment to unfold. As darkness enveloped the world outside, Richard sought refuge in the solitude of his room, surrendering to the oppressive weight of fatigue. Yet, the night was not kind, an insistent ache in his shoulder gnawed at him, a relentless reminder that peace was a distant memory. As I sank into the shadows of the living room, a book clutched tightly in my hands, the air thickened with anticipation. My thoughts spiraled into the abyss, lost and adrift, unable to find refuge against the tempest that howled mercilessly beyond the walls. A tempest of unease churned deep within my soul. Lucas stood alone in the kitchen, the haunting cadence of the fridge's door creaking open and slamming shut reverberating through the oppressive silence, each sound amplifying the tension in the air. The haunting sound of glass colliding echoed in the dimly lit room as he poured his drink, each drop a prelude to the tension that hung in the air. Moments later, he appeared in the dim light of the living room, a shadowy figure silhouetted against the flickering flames, clutching 2 glasses of whiskey as if they held the secrets of the night. He leaned in closer, a single eyebrow arched in silent challenge, as if daring the truth to reveal itself. My eyes widened, a jolt of shock coursing through me. At this hour, I find myself standing at the precipice of temptation, a shadowy figure lurking in the depths of my resolve, urging me to surrender to the allure of indulgence. Perhaps tonight is an exception, he said, his voice laced with intrigue, a playful smile dancing on his lips as he extended a glass towards me, leaving me momentarily speechless, caught in the web of uncertainty. In a heartbeat, I hesitated, my fingers trembling as they brushed against the icy glass, a shiver racing down my spine. Lucas sank into the armchair across from me, his legs stretching out with an unsettling ease, as if he were preparing for a confrontation that would change everything. The lamp beside me cast a flickering glow, revealing the sharp angles of his jaw and the dark, tantalizing shadow of stubble that hinted at secrets untold. Each flicker seemed to breathe life into the tension hanging in the air, as if the very light was a witness to the unspoken drama unfolding between us. "What book holds your fascination these days?" he asked, his eyes locked onto the tome resting in my lap, as if it were a treasure waiting to be unveiled. With a flicker of intrigue, I replied, raising it into the light, the shadows dancing around its edges. "There's nothing thrilling about it," he declared, a smirk dancing on his lips, as if he held the secrets of the universe just out of reach. "It gnaws at my very core, a haunting whisper that refuses to fade. How can I embrace such a chilling reality?" A low chuckle escaped my lips as I savored the rich, smoky warmth of the whiskey, each drop a tantalizing promise of the night ahead. The burn provided a fleeting escape from the suffocating tension that loomed ever closer, threatening to engulf everything in its path. For hours, we remained ensnared in a haunting silence, the storm outside our sanctuary raging with increasing ferocity, until he shattered the tranquility once again. His voice, a whisper cloaked in shadows, sent shivers down the spine, as if the very air around him held its breath in anticipation. "May I dare to pose a question to you?" I shot a weary look his way, the weight of unspoken words hanging heavily in the air. "The answer lies shrouded in uncertainty, waiting for the details to emerge from the shadows." He swirled the liquid in his glass, his gaze fixed upon it, as if it held the secrets of his very soul, drawing him deeper into a tempest of contemplation. "Have you ever felt the suffocating grip of confinement closing in around you?" His inquiry struck me like a thunderclap, laden with an unsettling weight that hung in the air, thick with unspoken tension. In moments of vulnerability, I found my voice trembling, a whisper that barely escaped my lips, laden with unspoken fears and hidden truths. He lifted his gaze, and in that electrifying moment, our eyes collided, igniting a tension that hung thick in the air. In the shadows of confinement, a flicker of hope emerges. You, a soul of resilience, stand on the precipice of liberation, yearning for the taste of freedom that has long eluded you. The chains of circumstance may bind you, but the spirit within cries out for release, for the chance to soar beyond the confines of your reality. Your spirit burns with an intensity that defies the very bounds of existence. Heat surged to my cheeks, a fiery blush igniting within me as I averted my gaze, my trembling hand placing the glass down on the coffee table with a soft thud that echoed in the charged silence. "Lucas, it would be prudent to hold your tongue, for the shadows whisper of consequences that could unravel everything you hold dear. What shackles us in the shadows of our own potential?" he asked, his words hanging in the air like a storm cloud, thick with unspoken tension. I sprang to my feet, an urgent need for distance coursing through me. "I think it's time we called it a night," I murmured, deliberately avoiding his piercing gaze, as an unsettling tension hung in the air between us. Just as I was on the brink of stepping out, an ominous darkness descended upon me, swallowing the light as the power flickered and then vanished into nothingness. The sudden plunge into darkness seized my senses, rendering me momentarily frozen in fear. "It's merely the storm," Lucas declared, his voice unwavering, yet the tension in the air crackled like electricity, hinting at the chaos that lay just beyond the horizon. A shiver coursed through me as I felt him rise, the soft, haunting whisper of his footsteps gliding over the carpet, each step echoing like a heartbeat in the stillness of the night. "Hold on, I need to find a flashlight, time is slipping away, and darkness looms closer." The air thickened with anticipation, a chilling prelude to his arrival, as the faint rustle of fabric heralded his ominous approach. In the suffocating darkness, his hand grazed mine, sending a jolt through my very core. I gasped, the air thick with unspoken tension. "I'm sorry," he uttered, but his resolve held firm, unyielding against the storm of emotion swirling around him. His hand lingered gently against mine, and in that fleeting moment, the very air around us crackled with an unspoken tension, as if the world itself held its breath, waiting for what would come next. I stood frozen, paralyzed by an unseen force, every muscle in my body refusing to obey my desperate commands. My heart pounded in my chest with such ferocity that I was certain he could hear its frantic rhythm echoing in the silence. "Helena," he murmured, his voice a fragile thread, barely escaping his lips, as if the very air around them held its breath. I turned my eyes in his direction, but the encroaching shadows cloaked him in an unsettling mystery. His presence engulfed me, a tantalizing warmth that both soothed and stirred my very core, as the haunting rhythm of his breath echoed in the shadows around us. His hand closed around my wrist with a firm yet delicate grip, sending a shiver down my spine. "You remain oblivious to the looming danger that awaits you." Lucas seized my hand, his grip a paradox of strength and tenderness, sending a shiver down my spine. "What I understand, deep within my soul, is that the thought of being separated from you sends shivers down my spine. The very essence of my being craves your presence, and the fear of losing you looms like a dark shadow over my heart." The intensity of his voice struck me like a thunderclap, rendering me utterly speechless, as if the very air around us had thickened with unspoken truths. "We must tread carefully, for the shadows loom ever closer," I whispered, my voice barely escaping the grip of the night. A palpable tension enveloped the atmosphere in the days that ensued, thick and suffocating, as if the very air held its breath, waiting for the inevitable storm to break. In the shadowy depths of my mind, I held my tongue from Richard, or so I believed. Yet the weight of suspicion hung heavy in the air, a dark cloud threatening to unleash its storm at any moment. Lucas reached out, his voice a whisper against the storm brewing within him, yet the air crackled with an undeniable tension that hung heavy between them. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the quiet street, Richard found himself approaching his home far earlier than he had ever expected. In the dimly lit laundry room, Lucas and I found ourselves drawn together, the air thick with unspoken tension that dared to defy the boundaries of propriety. As the front door groaned open, we jolted apart, hearts racing like two guilty souls ensnared in a web of forbidden desire. "Helena!" Richard's voice thundered, reverberating ominously through the shadowy corridors. I replied, my voice steady, even as a tempest of anxiety roiled beneath the surface. Richard lingered in the doorway, his piercing gaze sweeping across the dimly lit room, each shadow whispering secrets that hung heavy in the air. In that heart-stopping moment, hope flickered within me, a fragile ember yearning for life, yet he only bowed his head, leaving an unsettling silence in his wake. The air was thick with anticipation as I whispered, "Dinner is nearly prepared." The shadows danced around me, hinting at secrets yet to unfold. He vanished into the shadows, his silence echoing like a haunting whisper in the stillness. Yet his gaze haunted my thoughts, echoing in the shadows long after he had vanished. That night, sleep slipped through my fingers like sand, taunting me with its absence. The chilling echo of that moment in the laundry room lingered in the shadows of my mind, a relentless specter that refused to let go. The intensity of Richard's gaze lingered, a heartbeat stretching into an eternity, as if time itself had paused in that charged moment. I found myself teetering on the edge, the chilling realization that disaster loomed just a heartbeat away, ready to strike at any moment. Yet, the abyss loomed before me, a tantalizing whisper of oblivion, and still, I hesitated, paralyzed by the weight of the unknown. What unfolded between Lucas and me was monumental, an irresistible force that left me no choice but to confront its gravity. Yet I felt a chilling certainty that the tempest was only just beginning. The dawn was just beginning to unfurl its secrets. It all started when Richard stepped through the door, his presence heavy with an unspoken tension, his face a mask of enigmatic emotions that hinted at secrets yet to unfold. His arrival shattered the stillness, a sudden jolt that sent ripples of uncertainty coursing through me. He set his briefcase down with a resonant thud, his voice slicing through the air, sending a shiver straight to my core. Lucas stepped into the hallway, a calm presence that sharply contrasted with the electric tension radiating from Richard, whose every muscle seemed coiled, ready to spring. "Text greetings," he asked, leaning against the wall, his hands buried deep in his pockets, an air of mystery enveloping him. Richard's gaze intensified, piercing through the shadows that cloaked the room. "We must engage in conversation now," he declared, his voice leaving no room for argument, a storm brewing in his eyes. Lucas shot me a brief, anxious look, a flicker of concern dancing in his eyes, before he followed Richard into the shadowy depths of the living room. I stood frozen in the kitchen, my heart pounding like a drum, each beat echoing the tension in the air. In the beginning, their voices slipped through my grasp, swallowed whole by the thunderous resonance of Richard's deep cadence, while Lucas's softer interjections flickered like distant stars, barely piercing the overwhelming darkness. As their words clashed like thunder, a piercing clarity began to slice through the chaos. "I know what's been going on," Richard said, his voice chillingly cold, slicing through the tension like a knife. "What dark shadows are you alluding to?" Lucas replied, his voice a calm facade that barely concealed the tension brewing beneath the surface. "Don't play dumb with me," Richard snapped, his voice slicing through the tension like a knife. "I've witnessed the charged glances exchanged between you, the electric moment when her eyes lock onto yours, igniting a tension that hangs in the air like a storm waiting to break. Do you truly think I am blind to the world around me?" A shiver raced down my spine, igniting a primal fear within me. He felt the weight of uncertainty pressing down on him, a gnawing instinct urging him to confront Lucas, to unearth the truth lurking in the shadows. "You're conjuring illusions," Lucas remarked, his voice a calm whisper that cut through the tension, more steady than I ever anticipated. "Nothing is amiss. Don't lie to me," Richard roared, his voice slicing through the tense air. In that moment, a sharp sound pierced the silence. Was it the shattering of glass, or the breaking of trust? The atmosphere crackled with unspoken truths, leaving everyone on edge, hearts racing in the shadows of uncertainty. The time had come. I could no longer linger in the shadows, where secrets festered and darkness thrived. I stepped over the threshold, my hands trembling with anticipation. As I stood there, both men pivoted towards me, their faces a study in stark contrast, each revealing a world of unspoken tension and hidden motives. Richard's face twisted in a storm of fury and treachery, while Lucas stood resolute, his expression a chilling facade of defiance. "Helena," Richard whispered, his voice a chilling murmur that hung heavy with an ominous threat. "Unveil the truth that lies hidden in the shadows. Is there a storm brewing between you two?" As I parted my lips, a heavy silence enveloped me, and the words I desperately sought slipped through my grasp like shadows in the night. My silence resonated with an unspoken weight, and Richard's bitter laugh pierced the air, his fingers raking through his thinning hair as if searching for answers in the chaos of his thoughts. "Text, I knew it," he whispered, his voice quaking with a mix of fear and revelation. The truth loomed over me like a dark cloud, heavy and suffocating. I fought against the tide of realization, but deep down, I understood. The whispers of doubt echoed in my mind, and the weight of certainty pressed down on my chest. I didn't want to accept it, but the undeniable truth was creeping closer, ready to engulf me. "Richard," I pleaded, inching closer, but he lifted a hand, a silent barrier between us, charged with unspoken tension. "Don't even attempt to justify it," he declared, his voice laced with an intensity that sent shivers down her spine. "No words can mend the chasm that lies between us, no utterance can erase the shadows of this moment." The air grew heavy with an unsettling silence, shattered only by the relentless ticking of the wall clock, each second echoing like a heartbeat in the stillness. At long last, Richard stood before Lucas, his eyes burning with an intensity that could ignite the very air around them. "You're out," he declared, his voice cutting through the silence like a knife, leaving a chilling tension hanging in the air. "Gather your belongings and depart under the cover of darkness." Lucas stood firm, his jaw set tight, a storm brewing within him. I stand resolute, my feet anchored to this ground, unwavering in my decision to remain. The air thickens with tension, and the shadows seem to whisper secrets of defiance. "I will not be swayed, I will not be moved." "Indeed you are," Richard shot back, his voice laced with an intensity that hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. "Under my roof, your defiance shall not stand." The air thickens with tension as the ultimatum hangs between us, a storm brewing in the silence. Choose wisely, for the consequences of your disrespect will echo through these walls. I think you should calm down, Lucas said, his voice steady yet resolute, igniting a firestorm within Richard that threatened to consume him whole. He moved closer to Lucas, his fists clenched tightly at his sides, a storm brewing in his eyes. Do not dare tell me to calm down, you little, my voice thundered through the air, a storm brewing within me. Enough, I declared, stepping boldly between them, a shield against the impending chaos. Cease your movements, both of you, at once. Richard turned to me, his eyes ablaze with a haunting sorrow that pierced through the silence. How could you, Helena? The weight of betrayal hangs heavy in the air, a chilling reminder of trust shattered. The shadows deepen as the truth looms closer, and the silence screams for answers. What drove you to this precipice? The heart races, the mind spirals, and the darkness beckons. How could you, Helena? He asked, his voice quaking with an unspoken dread. In the shadow of my sacrifices, I stand bewildered, never foreseeing the storm that would erupt from our bond. I whispered, my voice trembling as hot tears cascaded down my cheeks. It was never my intention to plunge you into the depths of anguish. Indeed you did, he spat with a venomous edge, the weight of his words hanging in the air like a storm cloud ready to unleash its fury. Now I stand on the precipice of a harrowing truth, the weight of my wife and my son bearing down on me. He paused, his head shaking in disbelief, as if the very fabric of his world was unraveling before his eyes. In this moment, silence reigned supreme, a heavy shroud enveloping my thoughts. The weight of unspoken truths hangs in the air, suffocating and profound. Lucas reached out, his hand trembling with anticipation, but I recoiled, a shiver racing down my spine. His touch ignited a fire within me, a searing intensity that felt almost unbearable, especially with Richard's piercing gaze locked onto us, watching, waiting, as if the very air around us crackled with unspoken tension. It felt as though the very air around us crackled with tension as I uttered the words, perhaps it would be wise to depart. The weight of the moment hung heavy, a decision that could alter everything. Richard's eyes bore into mine, his face a mask of unyielding tension. You're not going anywhere, he declared, his voice a chilling whisper that hung in the air like a storm cloud ready to unleash its fury. This is my sanctuary, my fortress, where shadows linger and secrets whisper in the silence. Should anyone dare to depart, it will be him who takes that fateful step. Richard, I began, my voice barely a whisper, but before I could finish, he cut me off, his eyes blazing with intensity. I'd prefer not to hear it, he said, his voice trembling with barely contained rage, each word a taut string ready to snap. The die is cast, Helena, and now the shadows loom, ready to unveil the consequences of your choice. In the stillness of the night, Lucas moved with a tense precision, packing his bag as if each item held the weight of a secret too heavy to bear. I followed him to the driveway, my heart fracturing with every agonizing step I took. I'm sorry, I whispered, my voice trembling as tears streamed down my cheeks, each drop a testament to the weight of my regret. He cast a fleeting glance in my direction, his demeanor unexpectedly soft, sending a shiver down my spine. This isn't over, he declared, his voice a steely promise that echoed in the charged air. Are you truly aware of that, deep down in the shadows of your mind? I nodded, a tempest of doubt raging within me, caught in the throes of a haunting dilemma between belief and the shadows of uncertainty that loomed ever closer. As his car vanished into the horizon, an overwhelming void gripped my heart, a tumultuous mix of guilt, sorrow, and an indescribable feeling that clawed at my very soul. The days that followed dragged on, each one more agonizing than the last. Richard barely whispered a sound in my direction, leaving an unsettling silence that hung heavily between us. His silence cut through the air, a chilling void that inflicted a deeper wound than any words ever could, leaving a haunting echo of unspoken truths. I plunged into the relentless tide of household chores, desperate to drown out the chaos swirling in my mind. Yet, no endeavor could guard me against the haunting abyss of profound emptiness that loomed ever closer. 7 days passed in a haze of uncertainty, and then, like a thunderclap in the stillness, the letter arrived. The envelope lay there, ominous and silent, bearing Lucas's name in a script that sent shivers down the spine. There was no return address, only the haunting familiarity of his handwriting, a ghost from the past that beckoned with an unsettling allure. With trembling hands, I pried it open, my heart racing as the air thickened with anticipation. Helena, the web of our circumstances is tangled and fraught with tension, yet I implore you to believe that my words emerged from the depths of my heart, untainted and genuine. The end is nowhere in sight. I stand resolute, untouched by the whispers and judgments of those around me. To leave would be to abandon everything I hold dear, a choice I cannot fathom. The weight of my decision hangs heavy in the air, a storm brewing within my soul. There is no escape from this path, I am bound to it, for better or worse. I will not settle for anything beneath my expectations. In the shadows, I await your call, a silent sentinel, steadfast and unwavering, ready to embrace the moment when you finally choose to step into the light. As I clutched the letter, a chill coursed through my veins, my hands quaking uncontrollably as I read it for the third time, each word echoing ominously in my mind. A dark impulse surged within me, a fierce desire to tear it apart, to obliterate its very essence from reality. Yet another part, one I was hesitant to confront, clung to his words as if they were a desperate lifeline in a stormy sea. That fateful night, I slipped the letter into the depths of my dresser drawer, hiding it like a dark secret, a truth too perilous to unveil. For a chilling realization gripped my heart, echoing in the shadows of my mind, Lucas was undeniably right. The final verdict hung in the air, tantalizingly out of reach, as the tension thickened with every passing moment.